Hola!
Bem-vindo
Our Hobbybobs. And today we're learning Portuguese.
So we're filming this after we've done the challenge already, but I think we'll go back and talk about how we were feeling before we started to learn the language.
Did you think that you'd find it easy because you did French at school and then also you speak Russian at home?
I think the experience of learning languages helped.
Yeah.
So you kind of have an idea of what things to study. But as for the languages themselves, I don't think they were similar enough to Portuguese to help out in terms of similarities between French and Russian.
I feel like we all learned that the hard way.
Yeah, there's no language that I could relate Portuguese to. Like, it is on another planet.
It is. It is. I think I went into it thinking, oh, I've done Spanish before, so I'm gonna know some things. I didn't. I didn't know anything. Plus, I go to Portugal every year and have done for the last 13 years of my life.
Yeah. Shows how well you pay attention to the culture.
I really don't. I go to such a touristy area, people just know how to speak English anyway. And I know the important things like beach. I feel like we all went into this thinking, yeah, we can do this. And actually,
I don't think so, because my only language experience is German, and I know that that's nothing like... That's very much like English to me, so...
Yeah. Okay.
But going into Portuguese...
Yeah.
Whereas French and Spanish are very romantic languages, German is not fluid at all, so I kind of went into this a bit scared because I have, no experience. I tried learning Spanish when I was a kid, I was obsessed with Dora the Explorer, but it never clicked in my brain. French I was okay at, but I didn't care for it, so I haven't done that since whenever, which is ironic because technically Spanish and French are the languages I spent longest doing. Yeah, I wasn't going into this with much hope knowing how well I did with those languages before.
We were humbled. Yes. Humbled. Humble pie is what I ate for the last month. Cue the clips of us trying to learn Portuguese.
So I decided to jump in with some vocabulary lists that I found on the internet. These were just some really basic vocabulary lists like colours, animals, transport, and I find that it helps me to get into the mood of speaking languages.
I just did my first Portuguese lesson. I'm fucked. It is nothing like I've ever done before. So I'm gonna have to go all in to do well in this challenge. Where I'm learning German at the same time, my brain's just kind of muddled. And we'll get there though. I think I'm gonna have to watch a lot of kids' TV. If only Dora was in Portuguese. We'll do it better tomorrow though. I just did Duolingo today. We'll be okay. We've got this. Okay, so learning Portuguese yesterday did not go well at all on Duolingo, so we are regrouping and trying this instead. It's back from when I did German at GCSE, so I'm glad I've kept it because it's actually useful now. Hoarding comes in handy sometimes. It's got loads of different topics in it that I think will be useful in learning. So we've got family there, household things, it'll have numbers and things like that in it as well, so that would be good. But yeah, there's things in here that I obviously won't need to learn because I'm not doing a GCSE in Portuguese, thank God. Because at this rate, I wouldn't even pass the foundation exam. So I'm just going to go through these, make a few flashcards, and then, yeah, I'll just try and memorise them and see how it goes. Muse. Muse. What? Muse. Muse. I feel like I'm Joey. Muse. don't understand why you need a masculine and feminine one. Is it like who you're speaking to?
It's either it depends.
I know what it said this morning, but for this specific example,
I imagine it's who you're talking about.
Just an update for the January challenge of learning Portuguese. It is so much harder than I thought it would be, which is nice, because if it was easy, it wouldn't be much of a challenge. I'm really enjoying learning it though. The similarity between Spanish and Portuguese is sort of there, sort of not there. I think I'm finding it hard because learning languages at school, you normally have tutors and teachers and the resource, but trying to self-teach is really hard. But I'm really enjoying it.
so learning Portuguese is going bad. Well, I don't know. I think it's going as well as I thought it would. But I do have a secret weapon that I think my friends aren't using. I'm watching Bluey. I mean, a lot of my research said to watch kids' TV shows to help associate with the language, because obviously the best way to learn a language is how a baby learns to learn a language. But as fun as watching Bluey is, I think it's actually too old for the level that I'm at. Because yeah, I'm picking up words, but I'm just not watching and listening to it often enough, I don't think. I need to be watching it a lot more to actually understand what they're going on. But it is helping me with pronunciation, so hopefully it should be a bit better by the end of the month. I don't know. I don't think I'll be able to introduce myself at the minute. I can say hello. Oi! But other than that, and I can say false comments. Tenho uma casa. Alas, I do not have a house. We are getting somewhere. I just think Duolingo is not it. I do use it on days when I'm like running out of time and I haven't done it that much for a while, but normally I'll just set down like an hour or two in the week to really go at it. There's just not that many free resources online to help with Portuguese, so if we were doing like Spanish or French, I feel like it would have been a lot easier. It's just annoying. But we'll get there. I'm hoping that between the three of us we can get by, especially because we are hoping to visit Portugal. So there is purpose for learning the language.
Grammar is half the battle. So in these clips, I am just going through the different tenses that Portuguese has so that I can learn how to conjugate the different verbs. Just makes it easier if I'm talking about different things. And then also I started looking at personal pronouns as well, because when you're talking about either yourself or someone else, you need to know how to conjugate all of the different verbs. I find that writing things down helps me to memorize information easier, so that's something that I try to keep up with throughout the challenge. I found a YouTube video on a topic that interested me, so I actually managed to find an architectural illustrator who was doing an interview in Portuguese, and I was just translating everything that she was saying, so writing down the Portuguese and then writing the same out in English so I could understand what she was saying. I then used the same video to practice some pronunciation, so just repeating back some of the phrases that I heard throughout the video. And I think it helped listening to a more natural conversational dialogue than just robotic phrases that you would get on Duolingo or beginner podcast type learning resources. On the topic of pronunciation, there are some nasal consonants that we don't really say in English, so that took a bit of trial and error. I still don't think I say it very well,
Even though it's not been going too great, for the last few days I do think I'm just gonna knuckle down and do something every day to get ready for the final part where we'll try and converse in Portuguese. The good thing is that I have found a folder on Quizlet that I've been using for my own flashcards of common Portuguese phrases and words. So I'm going to go through that, see what I can use because it is massive. 482 flashcards. So I'm going to weed that down, find the how are you, which I have done on Duolingo, but you know, it's like rubbish, so it hasn't stuck in my head. And then what's your name, like where you from, when's your birthday, all that kind of things that you kind of learn when you first start a language. And obviously their responses as well, you need to know what someone's saying back to you.
It is the final day of the challenge and I am recapping some of the different greetings that they might use in Portugal. I'm not learning them for the first time, despite what some people might think, but I'm just making sure that I've written them down so that they're all in one place so I can flick back to them if I need them, particularly if Hobbybobs does go on tour and goes to Portugal.
So out of 5 stars, how would we rate learning Portuguese?
1.
But you're the only one who's actually kept it up.
Yeah.
Out of all of us.
Yeah.
That Duolingo owl be on us.
I admit that I know Duolingo is not the best effective method for learning a language, but when you have no patience to just do an hour's lesson, I'm going to do a 5-minute lesson on Duolingo. Like, it's better than nothing, just to keep up with vocab. Yeah, I
Didn't enjoy it?
No. I think it's just a case of forgetting how to pronounce things and trying to read it out the way I would read English or, I don't know, German, and then going like, why doesn't it sound right? And then I'm like, well, I'm not speaking the language because I'm just doing a Portuguese accent.
Yeah.
So it messed with my mind a bit, I think.
What about you?
I'd say 2.
Okay, so we're 1 up.
We're going up.
We're progressing.
Yeah, let's go with 2.5.
Right.
Okay.
I tried to also find some things that were interesting to me as well whilst I was learning it. So I also did Duolingo, and I agree. Like, you know, to keep up with vocab and to build the habit of learning the language, it's good. What I did was I found a video about architecture, which was interesting to me, in Portuguese, and I watched it and I translated some of the video from Portuguese into English, and during that process I also kind of tried to mimic the speaker to practice pronunciation, and I found that more helpful because you get to hear it in a more natural setting.
Resources, learning Portuguese.
This was my next point.
Yeah, go on then.
No, I was going to say, like, I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah.
They're so limited.
Very scarce.
They are pretty much non-existent, and I find that so hard because I learn better when you give me a textbook and a workbook and I can just drill it out. That's like my thing. Finding flashcards, learning through such a traditional way of learning a language. I could not do that. It is evident from the amount of pages I didn't fill in this notebook, okay? So that is pretty much where it ended because it was so hard to try and do this by myself rather than having a support system, whether it's a teacher, whether it's just a Portuguese person to talk to, just a really basic book on grammar. It's
like
just
it's
non-existent.
structured in a way for you to learn the language. Yeah,
it does not exist, and that's, I think, why I personally found it really hard.
Yeah.
If you went into this again, what would you do differently?
I think I would set goals because we kind of went into this like let's just learn Portuguese for a month. I think knowing what resources I would want to look for would help narrow down, like, okay, I found, like, you know, a book or, you know, just vocab on this topic, rather than just going, okay, just all the Portuguese that I can come across, Duolingo, like vocab lists, Quizlet, just, it would help, I think.
Yeah.
I think if I was going to do it again, I would get someone to test me more, because that would actually motivate me to learn it.
We should have used each other, really.
Yeah, I don't think solo learning languages is not it for me.
Does anyone feel confident in speaking Portuguese now?
No.
You couldn't. Could you introduce yourself?
Like, my name is?
Yeah.
No, I couldn't do that for you. Because I actually don't think I learned that. All I learned was hello, good morning, good evening, good night,
Yeah.
bye.
Bom
That's all the
dia.
stuff. Thank you and sorry.
Obrigada.
Boa noite.
Desculpe.
Yeah. So
Everyone in the comments like, that's wrong.
we're learning, alright? Have I kept it up? Absolutely not. What it has done is inspired me to try and relearn Spanish.
Oh, okay then. So at least the learning of the language is still a good hobby for you then.
It's still a good hobby, just not that one. If you want us to fail at learning any more languages
or just more Portuguese
content, then give us a little like, write a comment saying that's what you want, and we will try our best.
Don't forget to subscribe to our channel.
Ciao!
Adios!